Welcome to Effortless Coding. My name is Samuel Baraza and I'm glad that you've joined us in another episode. Today we want to introduce what we call JavaScript. We've been talking about JavaScript in other tutorial series, and today we want to start a series specifically for JavaScript. Now you should not confuse JavaScript with Java. There are people who know Java, but remember there is also another scripting language called JavaScript. JavaScript is a scripting language, an object-oriented scripting language, while Java is a desktop programming language. So do not confuse those two. At some point we'll come to learn about Java, but for now we will begin this tutorial series with what we call JavaScript introduction. Now JavaScript, for those who don't know, is an object-oriented scripting language that actually helps you develop interactive effects within your browser. When we talked about HTML, we covered JavaScript and said that JavaScript, just like HTML, is actually on the client side and not on the server side. So we will actually be dealing with coding in JavaScript from the client side point of view, but also currently JavaScript is used for backend development. There are two uses of JavaScript and why you should actually adopt JavaScript. Number one, it's actually used for front-end development. I think we've talked about that, where you can develop nice features such as drag and drop and all that. And also you can actually develop your backend web application using platforms such as React, those frameworks such as React, Vue, Angular, so that actually you can connect to your database, and through APIs you can send the data that you get from your database back to the front end. So at the end of this tutorial, you should actually be able to develop a front-end web application using JavaScript, and at the same time you should also be able to develop a back-end web application using JavaScript. Another important reason why you should also learn JavaScript is that you can also develop mobile applications using JavaScript, a framework called React Native. Remember, there is the main framework for backend development called React. So if you want to develop mobile applications, there's a mini framework under React called React Native. So that can actually be used to develop mobile applications, but we will not cover that. If we'll get time in this particular tutorial, we'll be able to cover that. So just know by the end of the tutorial, you should be able to know how to develop a front-end web application. We should actually be able to develop, using frameworks like Node.js and all that, a back-end web application. And lastly, you should actually be what we call a full-stack developer. A full-stack web developer in JavaScript means you can develop both front and back-end web applications. So stay tuned, and I hope for those people who've not subscribed, you'll be able to click on that subscribe button. And also don't forget the notification bell so that any video that we post you'll actually be able to be notified upon its release. So stay tuned, and until next episode, kudos.